it up, Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey.
Are you ready? For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to Bitcoin!
That's a nickname in its own way, but we came up with a new couple of words for corn.
Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up.
Can you quickly tell everybody what a rug pull is?
Bitcoin stands for freedom, sovereignty, and independence from government, coercion, and control.
Yo, we are back. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy January 8th, 2026. And we're back in action. G-Money is back. Rugpull is back. You know, I actually was going to take tonight off. There was something I wanted to do tonight, but I got so triggered by even some in our own crew that I'm like, nope, I'm coming back, right? The fake spacers, the Maduros, a white hat, the whole, some of the crew kind of triggered me. And I'm like, nope, G-Money's coming back. He's got something to say. But yeah, it's crazy, right? I thought we'd at least have a couple days off, I was still on vacation and Trump's capturing Maduro. And I was like, what the hell, man? Can we just have a week off of the psyops? It's waterboarding for smart people, all these psyops. It's just constant. Oh my God. To get all these people to wake up on top of all the other bullshit is it's insane. Right. And so I was like, you know what? It was because I didn't miss this. I missed none of this. I love all of you guys, but I literally missed none of this. I was enjoying myself in Brazil. I was having a wonderful time. And I come back to this shit show. And I'm like, really? I guess I got to come back on the air and straighten some shit out. So no, I was in south of Brazil at a little beach called Jurerê, and then some other place called Balneário Carambaú, something like that. Lovely place. Nobody spoke a lick of English. Thank God for Google Translator and some friends of ours that live there. But had an amazing time, and came back to the shit show. That is, of course, politics, because I hate it. But I get dragged into this shit. I don't want to get dragged into it, but I feel like I have to. So, anyways, Shea delay to everybody. Glad to see some of you folks in the chat. Go ahead and give us a like, throw us a Shea delay in the comments, share it with your friends and family. And guys, let's go full 1776 this year. Okay. 250th anniversary of 1776. You guys can all get the gear. Okay. Go to 1776.love. I want to see you guys repping the shirts, repping the hoodies. If you go to a Bitcoin meetup, go out on a Friday night, let's just wear it everywhere, get pictures, throw them up there, and let's just start posting the stuff. I mean, we own this, guys. This is our message. We came up with it. I'm not taking full credit for it. It was we are as a community. You guys helped me get to this conclusion. We all helped each other. And so let's own this message. This is our message. We own it, and we should be directing it. And so go rock it. Rock it everywhere. I'm going to be rocking it in Vegas, right? We're going to be, bring the hoodie to Vegas, bring the shirts to Vegas. We're going to have another, party in Vegas. But anyways, let's get on to the first thing that annoyed me, that really kind of annoyed me. Now, there's multiple ways to look at this, but I got to bring it up because everyone's talking about it. The stupid freaking officer from Minnesota. Yep, I'm going to bring him up. I froze frame this to show you that he's clearly out of the way of this vehicle. You can see it, that his feet are actually outside the vehicle and the wheels are pointed to the side. And he literally waits there, right? He's waiting on the side of waiting on the side of the car, knowing probably full well she's gonna turn the wheels and move forward, knowing full well that he's protected under law, that if he gets around to because she is just a let's call it a casualty of leftist media, right? She actually, this is DNA disposal. Right? I'm not shedding tears for this lady, but at the end of the day, it was kind of a bullshit shooting. And so that kind of ticked me off because Trump said he was in the hospital recovering from his injuries. What do you have? What do you get? A Charlie horse, right? Meanwhile, look, it is what it is, right? Everyone's gonna have their opinions on it, but I'm just not gonna toe the line of what I saw. And look, I've been through an entire police academy, guys. I know the propaganda, right? They didn't like me because I wasn't a freaking bootlegger, okay? Because I actually saw things, to see through their bullshit. Because at the end of the day, if you are not allowed the same authority as an officer to commit said act of violence against someone else, that is giving them a higher authority than you. Okay. And this is where Bitcoin levels everything in those realms. Officers should not have a higher authority than you. They have no duty to protect you, by the way. They have a duty to protect the law. An imaginary piece of code that some politician wrote, that is who their duty is to, right? And so recognize where the tyranny is between these gray lines that we're living through, because that is absolutely not someone that should be wearing a uniform or be carrying a gun. Okay. And so look, this thing happens. And again, she fucked around. She found out. Bad DNA, flushed down the toilet. I'm shedding no tears for this person. But at the end of the day, we got to be very cognizant of what that was, right? Because that is a slippery slope that we cannot allow to happen as we go through this, right? And so, anyways, funny Brazil story. I'm going to bring this up because it was kind of funny. So we're we're sitting eating lunch on the main boulevard. By the way, this boulevard, there's thousands of people on this beach. It's like a 4-mile beach shaped like a horseshoe, tall buildings all over, covered. The whole thing is covered in tall buildings. And there's thousands of people. They sell booze on the beach. It's an amazing time. Everyone's having fun. I barely saw 1 or 2 officers, barely, ever. And I was like, that's weird. Like, there is thousands of people out all times of the night, by the way. They're drinking in the streets or drinking on the beach. There's not a lot of people. There's nobody like passed out throwing up. There's people are taking care of their stuff for the most part. There's no, teenagers running wild and pissing people off. But something funny did happen while we're eating there one day. A guy comes running down the street with a machete. He's literally running down the street with a machete. And I guess he goes up and stabs a couple people. And we're like, what the fuck is going on? And all of a sudden, you see people see what happened on the beach. And hundreds of people start running after this guy, the guy that stabbed somebody. They're picking up like poles and benches and sticks and anything they can use to get this guy that went and stabbed a couple of people innocently, right? And so come to find out, it was some kind of internal family dispute, something about his woman and, some kind of machismo thing. And, so they actually beat the fuck out of this guy. And it was interesting, right? Because in the channel, I was triggered by it a little bit because I said something about how all these cops everywhere, like maybe cause more problems. Like, why do we need all these cops everywhere all the time? And when I was in Brazil, I was like, I thought this was like a super dangerous country. Why isn't there cops everywhere? If there's all these bad people like everywhere, which we never had any issues, like there should be more issues here, right? Fights and whatever. Nothing happened. And there was a lot of people there. And that's why I was like, what's different about Brazil than our society? And so, Long Branch responded, and he's like, look, a night out with police around means that women should feel safe, but in reality, they are in more danger because almost all the moral men around can do nothing because the police and judges could ruin or end their life for a just action. Therefore, the criminal has way less to fear in the crowd. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I literally witnessed this happen. There was no cops around, right? But the entire beach got up and ran after this guy to kick the shit out of him until the cops showed up. And there's video of it. Some random guy got video of it. So I'm going to play the video of it because it's actually kind of freaking hilarious. Here it is right here. So here's the video. As you can see, the whole beach is running after this guy because they saw him stab a couple people. It being his own family members. It wasn't random people. But it was funny shit because, Long Branch is absolutely right. Like, the moral men got up and they fucked this guy up. He was beat to shit. I mean, he was messed up. And so, you know what? Like, the problem kind of took care of itself. And that's why I think they don't have a lot of problems down there. But the reason I kind of am bringing the story, and the reason I'm telling the story is because, again, I think a lot of Americans, for the most part, have this one world view from an American viewpoint. And when you have this like rose-colored glass viewpoint of the entire world, you don't actually get to experience the culture. And that's why I love to travel so much, because I love experiencing all these other different cultures and seeing what it's like over there. And, the whole Maduro thing, right? Like, how do we know what's really happening in Venezuela? Have we talked to people that actually live there? What do we know about this place? We only know through the images and the stuff we're hearing, through the mainstream media. And so that's why I thought tonight's guest was super important to get on. And that's why I thought it was imperative I get back tonight. But what else happened when I was gone, right? Like, it seems like the calls for 1776 just absolutely exploded. But there's also this one, quote here that I want to talk about as well. To the liberals chanting death to ICE and fuck Trump, and to the MAGA-tards funding Somali learning centers, there is an easier, faster, and peaceful way to settle your differences to defund the people you don't like. Stop paying your state and federal taxes. Bitcoin is digital 1776. Boom. And what happened? Literally, it happened like on New Year's Eve, which was, by the way, a Kofefi date, 12/31/2025. We had Gary Cardone. Let's do this. Revolt 1776 style. Stand up, grow a spine, get angry, and say no. No, I will not participate. Okay. Love it, Gary. Gary even went harder. Right? Are U.S. citizens required to participate in murder? Core thesis. My taxes have been and are being used to kill, murder, oppress, and maim millions, not build schools, hospitals, dams, or bridges as originally intended. Once you see this, you cannot unsee it. And once seen, at least for me, I can no longer pretend not to be actively complicit in past and future murder. If I do nothing about it, if I say nothing, and most certainly if I continue to contribute financial energy to support and sustain the murder, to continue paying 1 penny of tax makes me overtly complicit to murder and enslavement on an unprecedented scale. How can I look my children in their eyes knowing daddy is a killer? Question for a jury, a judge, the Supreme Court. If a man witnesses a great crime, the murder, rape, and enslavement of innocents, when does he become responsible to report it or stop it? If that man is also found later, he is in knowledge of the crimes, continues to send funds to those very murderous people, which he knows goes to support and feed the criminals and the crime. When and at that point does that man cross the line of aiding and abetting the crime and the criminals and thus responsible for the crime? As a U.S. citizen, do I have a constitutional obligation to be complicit with murder, to violate core principles of the 10 Commandments and core beliefs common to every religion on the planet? I shall be judged by God, by myself, by others, not by what I say or said, but what I do and do not do. Powerful words, guys. Like, that's what I've been saying for quite a long time. And it's nice to see other people, bigger names, start to say that as well. We had Major Taylor Greene, right? Fuck it, I'm not paying taxes this year. And when the IRS comes after me, I'll blow that up in a huge national story. So we've got, we've got Theo Vaughn. What are we paying taxes for? We got the Hodge twins. At this point, there's no reason to pay taxes anymore. Why are we even paying taxes if they can print an unlimited supply of money? General Flynn, please tell me why I or anyone should pay taxes, federal, state, or local. We're now potentially over $1 trillion stolen by corrupt politicians and their illegal cronies in numerous states that allow children, leering centers, and other money-sucking criminal child care medical support chop shops. What the heck is going on? Donald Trump, we need to hear from you. Leaving this up to DOJ isn't going to do the trick. It's trending on X. Online calls grow to pause taxes amid fraud exposed and $30 trillion in debt. Flynn again talks about a tax holiday from paying federal taxes until these issues are resolved. Our money is fully recovered and people are held accountable. Okay. And look, guys, we are very much approaching the singularity. Okay. This is all coming together. Okay. This is all coming together to the singularity. Okay. Because the tax revolt without Bitcoin is like taking a knife to a gunfight. Ben CQ at bit_VM is absolutely right. A tax revolt without Bitcoin, what are you going to do, bro? Right? And so here's the thing. To the tax revolt normies, this isn't a message of discouragement. We are with you. We want to help you. We want to assist you. We want to arm you with the proper weapons to battle this enemy. Okay? And so you're not properly prepared for battle, some of you. Some of you need a weapon. Bitcoin is a weapon system. You are the weapons operator. Soft war is the field service manual. The only way out is through, and you will need real watts to project power. Download Jason Lorry's Soft War Thesis, 1776.love. It's all there for you guys to download for free. But again, some of MAGA, they just don't care. They're just happy that a Republican with his name next to it is in office because all they want to do is suckle to people and hand over their power and authority. Then we're done. Okay. This is not going to end in elections and fixing it incrementally. There's only one way, and it is the singularity, and it's happening. And we're at the tip of this, guys. So kudos to all of you that have stuck around all these years, because I believe this may be our year. I know I've been saying that for a while, but I truly think maybe this year, right? We're in for some fun. So anyways, yeah, go grab some gear. Again, 1776. I want to see all of us posting pictures, post pictures where you guys are out. Let's retweet it. Let's get it out there into the ether, right? Let's manufacture, let's manifest, let's get all that noise and signal out there. But I think that's really kind of all I wanted to say at this point, and we'll get into we'll actually get into the interview right now. Actually, one more thing. This year, you guys can go to your employer and go to your HR and file exempt. Like, stop paying. And here's a news clip from someone telling you just exactly how to do that.
But here's what you can do. And this is bold. Here's some, and it's totally legal, by the way. You get a W-2, right? Go to your HR department on Monday and tell them that you don't want to withhold any federal taxes from your payroll. Now, look, put those in a separate account, because you're still going to probably have to pay them at the end of the year, unless Trump takes my idea and pardons every citizen for not paying taxes in 2026. But you would break the trend of not giving the government an interest-free loan on your income for an entire year. You can just pay it at the end of the year when you do your taxes in April of 27. A few million productive citizens do that. I bet the Treasury starts panicking, but we get their attention real quick. Folks, just so you know, I don't just like come on here also and talk about this. When I get done with this show for an hour on the train, and when I get home, I'm like taking clips of what we talked about and showing them your sentiment of the tweets and things that you send me, and I send them directly to congressmen and senators and governors and sometimes even the president's staff.
So there you go. Go to your HR department, right? Demand to fill out that W-2, file exempt. And if you want to pay taxes at the end of the year, that's on you. Okay? I say, fuck them. Fuck them. Let's get to some commercials.
Hey, Earthlings. I'm here on the streets of New York to tell you about something that's literally out of this world. You know, traveling between dimensions really takes it out of you. But I've found the perfect solution. My Shroom Vibe can now be your Shroom Vibe. Elevate your frequency. Get microdose capsules, gummies, and chocolate bars at myshroomvibe.com. Use code Badlands for 10% off your order. Trust me, galaxy hopping demands balance, and ours comes from Mother Nature. Organic, not synthetic. It's the real deal. Sai Lee, if you know what I mean. Check it out. Your frequency will thank you. Visit myshroomvibe.com. Organic goodness, not synthetic. Use code Badlands.
Some of that beard oil.
Now that I'm alone at the close-up, do you see how awesome my beard looks right now?
I use the beard oil every single day. First thing. Comes out feeling all silky smooth. I take the dropper and I manually apply the oil directly to my mustache. Nice and, oh man, I love it. And then I do drops all throughout the hair, and then I just rub it all in. And then I top it off with the tallow stick on the face.
Dude, I feel like I have to grow a beard just to try this beard oil. It sounds
Do it, Jay.
amazing.
It's all from softdisclosure.com, and the best part about it is you'll be supporting Badlands Media, Annie from Willow and Farms, and basically 3 of Annie's neighbors. So that's 5 total American companies that you'd be supporting with one purchase.
I have been using the Soft Disclosure scentless beard oil every day after the shower. It looks unkempt, but it feels silky smooth. I want to look a little wild and unapproachable, but for the woman I trust, she'll be like, oh, it's actually kind of soft. He is approachable after all. Otherwise, stay away. And Soft Disclosure will help you too with that, if that's the very specific vibe you're going for.
That is very specific, yes. You guys are supporting American businesses when you do that. It's absolutely incredible, and you get a great, great product.
All right. So go get your beard oil. I don't have a beard because my beard would be white and I don't feel like looking like Santa Claus. So I will not be using the beard oil, but I'm sure it's great. So for those that have a beard, I've heard nothing but good things about it. We do have one more sponsor I will play. And of course, that is the folks at River. Love the folks at River. Stack Sats with River, the Bitcoin-only platform built by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners. Why River? Zero fee reoccurring buys. Stack Bitcoin effortlessly, hourly, daily, weekly, or monthly. 3.5% Bitcoin interest on cash. FDIC insured. No minimums. Withdraw anytime. Expert US-based support. Human help plus private client services for big buys up to 100K. Business accounts. Boost your balance sheet with Bitcoin and earn 3.5% paid in Bitcoin. Top tier wallet. Send, receive, and manage Bitcoin securely, including Lightning. Unmatched security, full reserve custody, multi-sig cold storage, and proof of reserves. Join the Bitcoin revolution at badlandsmedia.tv/river and earn real returns. That's badlandsmedia.tv/river. River is the best in the game, folks. If you do not have an account, go set one up. Tell them GMoney sent you. And what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? And so I did download the new Rumble app. That is the wallet app. So if you guys go to the App Store, you can download the Rumble app and get a Bitcoin wallet. And I put my little tip jar up here in the top left corner. So all those tips go directly to me. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for those that have already sent. And we'll get on with the interview. So if you guys are not following Mauricio, go follow him. The Cryptonomista. Go follow him on X. I did have to record this earlier today, but it's a super interesting interview. And I will be following along in the chat. And we'll follow up with the news and the rug pulls after the interview. All right. Enjoy. And all right, guys, we are live with our brother here, Mauricio Di Bartolomeo. Is that how you say it? Sorry, I butchered that.
No, that was good.
But welcome to Rugpull Radio, sir. Happy New Year. And you've got a really interesting story, and that's why I really kind of jumped on this. I hadn't really seen you before, and I'm glad I got to see you on Nolan's show the other day. So, yeah, man, welcome to Rugpull Radio.
It's a pleasure to be here. Big fan of Rumble. Big fan of the Tether family. Obviously, we're all part of the Tether family as well. Tether is an investor in LEDN. And so, yeah, very happy to be here, man.
Yeah, so give us your story, man. I know you're from Venezuela. I'm sure hyperinflation had something to do with your Bitcoin journey. Give us, your history on how you found Bitcoin and what turned you into a crazy Bitcoin maximalist, and how this story unfold for you.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it short. I mean, but it's a very long story, and I get pretty passionate about it, obviously, because it's my family and my personal, Venezuela, Bitcoin, and my family are like the three things I feel strong. If I feel the strongest for, and so I was born and raised in Venezuela, which is in the epicenter of the global news flow at the moment, but. Up until a few days ago, no one really cared about us. For 26 years, we've been getting beat up by the regime, and just crying and crying to the world for help, because these guys just, once they got a hold of the army and they turned the army against the people and repressed free speech and repressed media and expropriated businesses on national television. Well, let me tell you the story with an actual story arc. Okay, so I was born in the mid '80s in Venezuela, a town called Barquisimeto, and my whole family was born in Venezuela. My parents were born in Venezuela. My grandparents, my aunts, my grandparents on my father's side are Italian, but they moved to. My dad was actually born in Venezuela, and so my whole family was there. I grew up like many other kids. Beautiful upbringing. Venezuela was. It was growing up in a movie in the 80s and the 90s. It was beautiful. I was very lucky. I had a beautiful upbringing. I would walk to school. I would walk away, I would walk to and from school. My house was pretty close, and it was just a sort of a picture perfect childhood, right? When I turned 14 or 15, I can't remember exactly. Yeah, it was 1990, so I was 14. I heard the name of a guy called Hugo Chavez. And at the time, I didn't really understand. I wasn't really following politics that closely, but I knew my parents were very nervous. And every other smart people in Venezuela that I knew was really, really nervous about Chavez. Even though there was like excitement around certain groups of people that were excited about this idea of Chavez, I didn't really know the guy at the time. And all I knew was my parents were very nervous. And so were parents of the other friends that I knew. I now understand why they were nervous. So Hugo Chavez, for the people who don't know this, is a failed military person. He's dead, by the way, but just to give you the context as to how he got to run for Venezuelan president. He was a member of the parachute division of the Venezuelan Air Force. Okay, very low-ranking officer, a very eloquent guy, and so he throughout his military career, he did okay as a military career, but in 1992 he became famous because he led a coup d'état attempt against the Venezuelan president at the time, Carlos Andrés Pérez. He failed, obviously. That coup d'etat did not work. And he was taken in, I believe he was jailed and later released. Because I think in 94, I believe, was his second coup attempt. He led a second coup attempt, which also failed, and he was jailed. And in 1998, he threatened the incumbent president with doing yet another coup attempt from within jail, because he still seemingly had support from the military forces. And the incumbent president, the guy called Rafael Caldera, gets the brilliant idea of saying, you know what, don't do the coup. I'll release you so that you can run in the polls and try to win democratically. And so he gave him a presidential pardon, and the guy gets released, gets on a plane, and goes to Cuba and starts getting his training for his campaign, his upcoming campaign. Flies back down to Venezuela with this kumbaya, middle-of-the-road campaign, perfectly articulated, well-dressed, well-spoken, just like sharp-looking, no military outfits, no military costumes, just like real salesman just coming in and giving you a very well-prepared speech. This speech took Venezuela by storm. People loved his idea of businesses coming together, and he's like, businesses, don't worry, I'm not going to kill you. People, I'm just going to make things better for you guys. We need to just make it better, right? So he wins democratically. I will say that. I will say the first election he won democratically, but very quickly he started revealing his true colors after he won that election. So let me walk you through the list of the things that Chavez did, and you tell me what you think those things signal. Okay, within a few years of coming into office, Chavez rewrites the Constitution, eliminates the presidential re-election limits. There was a limit of 2 in Venezuela. He eliminated it entirely, expanded the presidential period to 6 years, changed the Constitution, rewrote the Constitution. As part of that, he changed the name of the country. He changed the flag. He changed the coat of arms. He changed the fucking time zone. Okay? And he was basically letting everyone know, this is my game now, right? Of course, many families were petrified of this, and my family was included. So many families, including mine, made an effort to go spend some time abroad, because many people thought Chavez would be gone after 1 term. No chance people can tolerate this stuff, right? So we left, but after 2 years, it was very difficult to stay in Miami for my dad, earning bolívares and spending dollars when everything was crashing in Venezuela thanks to what this guy was doing. So we had to return. And the Chavez regime didn't really, it was inflation was bad, but what kept the lid on inflation during the Chavez regime was that because oil markets understood what was going to happen to Venezuela's state-owned oil company, which is PDVSA. PDVSA, by the way, for those who don't know, when Chavez took office, produced 3.5 million barrels of oil per day. It's one of the biggest production facilities on planet Earth. And the market, once Chavez won the election, the market just immediately assumed that production was going to come offline because of incompetence and mismanagement. And in fact, it did. Venezuelan production today is 800,000 barrels of oil per day. 26 years later, after producing 3.5 million barrels of oil per day in 99. That's the level of incompetence and corruption. So back to the story. Oil investors are pretty smart. They're saying Chavez production is going to come offline. Oil prices are going to go up. Venezuela, Chavez saw oil price when he took office, oil prices was at $18, I believe. Within 5 years, oil was at 120. So his budget, his revenue, 6 times. And he now had all this money to start doing petro diplomacy. So Chavez, as a very smart man, realizes that in organizations like the UN or the OAS, the vote of St. Vincent Grenadines is worth as much as the vote of the United States and the vote of Haiti. There's a reason the second largest airport in Haiti today is called the Hugo Chavez Airport. There's a reason for that. So things were falling apart, but there was an illusion of stability in the country because all the demise he was doing through his policies was getting made up on the price of oil because the markets were just lifting him.
They were essentially bailing him out, right?
Correct. So the oil markets bailed out his incompetence. But that all fell apart in 2013 when Chavez died. So Chavez dies in 2013, and this triggers an election that many people thought was going to give us our country back. I was in Canada at the time. I flew back and made a big effort. I saved money, and a lot of my friends did because we knew these people weren't going to count our votes internationally. They never have since Chavez has been in office. So we flew in, we voted. And we followed we guarded every vote very closely. We were looking at the exit polls. We were organized. By that point, it had been 14 years with Chavez pressing his boot on us.
Yeah, I mean, so he controlled all the election systems, right? He controlled all the infrastructure.
He changed the name of the country. What else do you think he changed? Right? So those are just like the tip of the iceberg. He changed the entire. He completely revamped or dismantled rather the electoral apparatus. So like all the members of the electoral committee were his buddies. The machines that he used for votes were Venezuelan machines that he had a special agreement with Smartmatic, and those machines unfortunately made it out of Venezuela into some other places. So the election happens. Every one of us there, objectively looking at the people, the mood, the voting centers, the traffic, the exit polls, everybody is sort of, we won. This is ours. We won. We did it, finally. And we're all anxiously waiting for the news. And we're winning. Exit polls are showing us ahead by like 5-6%. And then at 8-7, the goes dark. The reporting stops. The exit poll reporting stops. Everything goes quiet. And then all these rumors start flying on WhatsApp. And we stayed watching frantically. A lot of us kind of could feel what was coming, but we wanted to see it. We wanted to see it from them. And I still remember the moment that the electoral committee members walked through the veranda. There's a very famous veranda that they walked down on when they come and announce the results, and everybody was watching. And you could see it in their faces. They walk with their faces. They walk out like this, like a little smirk coming down. And then they're like, "We won!" And everybody in the country there was like a collective gasp. There was like a sigh, and basically we said, "Okay, we're going to protest tomorrow. We're going to demand a recount." So I started going to these recount protests. I was in it. I was getting tear gas thrown at me. I had pictures of tear gas grenades that I would pick up and throw right back. Like we were in it. Okay. My friends were getting shot with rubber bullets. I was lucky I didn't get hit with the rubber bullets. But then later that day, because we're not leaving, the protest is getting bigger and bigger and bigger throughout the day. It's now getting to like 6-7 p.m. Things are starting to go dark. And then there's a distinct change in the sound of the bullets that they're shooting at us. And it goes from rubber to lead. And at the beginning, when I first heard the first few, I was kind of in disbelief. I was like, because you go like you hear them, okay?
Oh yeah.
we're like, they're real. And so people started getting first. And then I look, like, basically one of the guys that I knew was shot. He was killed. He never got back up. And so I go, obviously the protests got dispersed whenever the people started going down, and the dead and the blood, and the people start seeing blood, and call the ambulance, and now all of a sudden everybody's just kind of gone. And so it's like, let's regroup for tomorrow. That night, my mom and my wife sat me down, and they said, you gotta go. Many families in this situation, and any immigrant family would probably attest to this, when your country's falling apart and you have a family and you have some kids, as a parent, you're thinking about your kids before you're thinking about yourself. So many people, what they do is they send their kids abroad to study so that they can get hopefully a chance at a career in a better place. That was me and my family. So my family certainly didn't want me to stay and give my life, or have the thugs kill me by doing these protests that they knew were futile. So they said, go, because you're most likely going to have to get us out of here. And in fact, and I, with an immense pain in my heart, I got on a plane the next day. Fortunately, I guess, unfortunately for the country, fortunately for my family, it did play out that way. I did end up helping a lot of my family come out in due time. Now, this event, this election, this fraud in 2013 is what triggered Venezuela's wave of mass immigration and hyperinflation. The election, the mass migration wave, and hyperinflation are all related events. The immigration and the hyperinflation are a result of the fraudulent election. And this is a point that I like to highlight in Bitcoin shows. So a lot of people like to talk about inflation and hyperinflation as an extension of the same definition. If hyperinflation is just more inflation, like that is not the case, in my opinion. Inflation is a rational response to an increase in the money supply. Money supply goes up 30%. You reprice your stuff 30%. That's inflation. It's a normal, tamed process. Hyperinflation means you lost full faith in the currency, the system, the government, and the country. And you are liquidating. It's the equivalent of a liquidation. It's a forced sale. Because when you're in a hyperinflationary environment, you don't know how much you are going to get for that thing. You just hit the bid.
So walk us through, like when you were back in those days, like would just half of your net worth just be gone overnight? Like what would that look like?
Sometimes worse. I'll give you a tiny example which happened yesterday. Even today, the foreign exchange in Venezuela can move 100% overnight. 100%. Like I'm talking, it's like Bitcoin. If you're waking up tomorrow and Bitcoin's 200 grand, that's in our world, Bitcoin is the price of the US dollar, and the dollar is our little shitty fiat currency, right? And so, so people would get paid, and so what would happen is people would get paid on a Friday, and they would frantically start. Now, when hyperinflation starts, the government closes the exits. It's the first thing they do. And most people listening in America and in Europe have no idea what a capital control is, which is, I find, comical, because the rest of the world lives under capital controls. Right? Like if you've ever tried to buy $1 in China, you know what a capital control is. If you've ever tried to buy $1 in Venezuela or in Argentina or in any country outside of the OECD, you know what a capital control is. And so what happened in Venezuela was people were desperately trying to get out of their bolívares. And as they did so, the exchange rate for the bolívar versus dollar was worthless. The exchange rate of a currency is the report card for a government. So a government doesn't want to let the world know that it's failing, right? So what it does is it says all sales of dollars for bolívares are forbidden. We will be the only people selling dollars for bolívares, and we set the price, and the price is this. Of course, you can't stop nature. You can't stop life. So people start trading on a peer-to-peer market. And the peer-to-peer values are widely disconnected from what the government says it is. And there's very good reasons for this.
So were you able to hold dollars in like Venezuelan bank accounts, or are you actually taking physical custody? Okay.
No, cash, which is a huge risk. I saw many people get paid in Bolivares, the equivalent of $100 for the month. And they went that Friday to trade that for dollars. They didn't have an account abroad, so they couldn't take digital dollars. They had to force to get cash. They couldn't put them in their local banks. So she goes and she trades cash in this P2P markets. Now the other thing is unregulated P2P markets are rife with fraud and cheat and bad people because there's no enforcement. There's no rules. So many of these people would show up with their hard-earned bolivares only to find out that the dollar bills they got were counterfeit. And away went their entire month's work. And this was daily. Like this was,
I mean, it was probably being ran by the regime. I would imagine they were probably, stealing from their own people.
No. They were 100% stealing from their own people. But in this sort of P2P, these are small potatoes for government officials. Like these guys are stealing billions from the state-owned oil company and expropriating buildings and businesses. Like this is peanuts for them.
So the people of Venezuela are just desperately looking for some place to have any value stored in any kind of other currency. And this is why, I truly believe that countries like Venezuela, right, like El Salvador, like Peru, all these different countries, like they are exposed to the lies of inflation and money printing more than we are here in the US. Like we have these rose-colored glasses on, but we see the world from this very different worldview to where you guys are literally trying to survive every single day.
That's 100%, like 100% accurate. And so this is what leads eventually Venezuelans to find Bitcoin. So let me explain how that happened. So in this desperation, right? Every Friday you're getting paid. Now we're up to like 2015. Okay, this is when Bitcoin comes into my life and my family's life. My youngest brother gets the brilliant idea because he didn't want to leave the country. He graduated university in 2014, and he gets the brilliant idea to mine Bitcoin, which at this point I've never heard of. My family's never heard of. Most of Venezuela's never heard of. The point is, my dad doesn't want him to stay in the country. My dad wants him out. And he's telling him he refuses to support any projects in Venezuela. But my youngest brother was adamant and pretty rebellious that he didn't want to leave. And so he comes to my dad with this Bitcoin mining business plan. And he says, this is my thing. I'm going to do it. This is an ultimatum, father. If you don't support me, I will be leaving the house. I will be selling the car. Thank you very much. I'll take care. I can take care of myself. And my dad sends me the white paper that night, kind of nervous. He's like, man, he seems really, really freaking serious about this. Like, you take a look at this? I never heard of this. So I read it. And what I understood at the time was there are these computers that need a lot of energy. And if you connect them, you feed them energy and you feed them internet, they produce this asset that is uncensorable, unseizable, trades in a 24/7 market, can be sold for dollars. It can be sent anywhere in the world and no one can confiscate it. And immediately I'm like, oh, this sounds cool. Sure, give it a shot. Let's see how it goes. And he starts mining Bitcoin. And he starts doing very well. And I flew down, I think it was 6 months or a year after he supposedly got his machine. I didn't really follow up on him as much, but when I got back, I see him smiling, renting new facilities. My dad's happy. And all my friends are just like, their faces are like this, like their assets are being sold. They're like, if you know anybody, like, Mal, can you help me get a job? Like, my friends are in disarray. And my youngest brother is like pep on his step, happy, smiling.
So are you guys, so back then when this is happening, are you actively trading Bitcoin for dollars? Like, what's the infrastructure inside of Venezuela? Like, is it through their phones?
Yes.
Like, so a lot of people are actively engaged.
In local Bitcoins was the primary venue. And there was an exchange actually at the time, and shout out to Daniela Raez, who started this exchange. She's a good friend of mine now. There was an exchange in Venezuela called Sur Bitcoin. And it was fantastic It was connected to all the local banks because at the time things were completely under the radar. There was no regulation, there was no limitations, there was no law against it. Nothing prevented you from using Bitcoin. There was just there was no prohibitions. So there was this exchange called Pseudo Bitcoin, which works phenomenally. And the reason I remember this is because when I went to call BS on my brother, because I'm like, there's no way, because I went back and the guy had twice as many machines. And I'm like, no way you doubled this money like in a year. There's no chance. And so I went to my dad and I said, Dad, did you give him more money than we originally said? He said, no, those are his. He already paid me for the loan. Those are his machines. He's doing great. So I go back to my brother and I'm like, what are you really doing? I want to know. And he goes, bro, I'm mining Bitcoin. Let me show you. And I said, okay, show me. Turn this Bitcoin stuff into Bolivares, put it in my bank account here in Venezuela. Show me how this works. And he goes, give me your bank account details. So I gave him my bank account in Banesco. Banesco is a bank in Venezuela. He says, Mau, look at this. I'm going to sell $100 worth of Bitcoin for Bolivares, and I'm going to get the peer-to-peer free market dollar to Bolivar rate through this exchange. And these Bolivares are going to hit your Banesco bank account in a matter of hours. And I said, sure, buddy, go ahead. Makes a trade, withdraws. Within 20 minutes or less than an hour, the money's in my bank account. That was the moment for me. That was the moment when I realized, holy fuck, this thing is whatever everyone needs in the world. So not surprisingly, after that, my parents were already mining. He already had machines on the way when I went that second time. And then all of a sudden, my other brother starts mining. Of course, I wanted to start mining. My uncles start mining. My cousins start mining. We either had GPU rigs in my grandma's house. So it was every single plug.
So okay, let me pause you right there. So is this like now kind of spreading like wildfire? Like, you know how hard it is to in America to like convince people of Bitcoin? Like, you know, it's impossible, right? Like to take an normie and be like, hey, check out this thing called Bitcoin. But like in Venezuela, since they're already in this predicament, is it kind of spreading these little wildfires and people are like really waking up, or was it just as hard to orange pill people there?
No, let me it was different. It was different. It was much easier, but it was different. And even though they got it, they didn't always get in there for the right reasons. And that's leading to some of the sort of hyper stablecoinization we're seeing today. So let me walk you through how most Venezuelans got into Bitcoin. So the way it would happen is you'd get paid on a Friday, as I mentioned, this experience, right? You get paid on a Friday. The first thing you do is you pick up the phone to call your peer-to-peer dollar guys, right? And you say, I need to buy $100. What do you got? You got cash? You got what bank accounts do you need abroad? I have one in Bank of America. And the person would say, I have dollars, but they're in Wells Fargo, so can't do that one because you have to sell the same day. I don't have cash. Nobody really wants to sell their cash. There's this
like imagine like Americans doing that. It's crazy.
It sounds like it can't happen to you, but you'd be shocked at how quickly it can happen. So we're calling up these people. You're calling up your dollar guys, and the dollar guys are telling you no cash, nobody wants to sell it, no digital. But if you're in a pickle, I have this thing called Bitcoin. You could sell it for dollars on Monday or even tomorrow. What do you want to give it a shot? And you'd be staring at certain 100%, certain 50 to 60% debasement from Friday to Monday, right? So like your month's work would have been halved if you waited 2 more days. So you tell this guy out of desperation, you're like, sure, give me whatever this thing is.
Whatever
like,
you have.
Like, okay, go open a wallet. And people are like, what? What do I have to open? No, it's a string of letters and characters, and you have to do it. Here's the link. Go set it up. And people were like reluctantly would be like, okay, fine. Here's my wallet. Send me the thing. And they would get the Bitcoin. And how a lot of people started getting really excited was that they got the Bitcoin on Friday, $100. When they went to sell the Bitcoin on Monday, they realized that it's not $100, it's $105. And they said, they called the guy back, be like, did you send me 100? Yeah, that's 100. Why am I seeing 105? Well, because Bitcoin went up in dollars. And the people were like, Bitcoin went up in dollars. I have now more dollars than I bought on Friday. And they're like, yeah. And so immediately Venezuelans start feeling like they're Warren Buffett, like it's like,
right.
It's incredible, right? And because there's easy exchange on and off through Bitcoin and local Bitcoins, you can sell the Bitcoin you need, sell the Bitcoin as you need it to get your Bolivares to settle and keep on with your life. And so that went on that's how many Venezuelans got into Bitcoin. What happens today, which is, for example, when you get these like spikes in inflation like we got yesterday, where it was like 100% one day, the dynamic hasn't changed, but what's changed is the available assets. So now when you call your dollar guys, or when you go to a Binance, you'll see Tether. And Tether's easy because you buy the Tether, everybody prices their things in Tether now. If you're sending people Tether, it's like there's no sort of price issue, or what happens if the price moves. So what people really wanted at the time was to get out of the Bolivar, and Bitcoin was just in the right place at the right time. This isn't to say that most Venezuelans understand Austrian economics and inflation, and they think Bitcoin's great for all these reasons, fixed supply, and all. They don't really get in it for those reasons. They get in it out of desperation to get out of the dollar. For their local currency. And today, I would argue that the stablecoin, lacking the understanding that they lack, that stablecoin makes a lot more sense for them, because they don't understand the benefits of Bitcoin. They just want a dollar, right? In most cases. So that's how it's.
But they're being onboarded to crypto. Like they're being onboarded, correct, whether they like crypto or not. And so
correct.
What would you say is like the penetration of the population of Venezuela that knows about just crypto?
I'd say 30 to 40%, probably more actually.
Probably the highest in the world.
Yeah, I would say pretty high. I mean, I'm not familiar with other sort of big sort of Nigeria type of markets that have big adoption, but in Venezuela, this is anecdotal. I was speaking to a bunch of friends back home. About 30% of commerces accept Tether back home right now. So like 30% of the stores where you go, 3 in 10 will accept payments in stablecoins. And so again, if 30% of the businesses accept it, I would argue that 50% more of the people have interacted with it. And so it is broadly, adoption, I would argue, is really, really broad. So
things are going kind of well. Like you guys are doing really well. Things are progressing. The population is starting to understand Bitcoin. Now, at what point does Maduro be like, hey, wait a minute. Like, we need to stop this. We need to control it. We need to step in. When does that happen?
December 2017. And December 2017, there's a few reasons for that. But December 2017 was Bitcoin's all-time high at 20K. The world was watching Bitcoin. It was basically, Bitcoin went viral as this uncensorable, unstoppable asset. And here he is looking at this with a sanctioned country, sanctioned oil company, and hyperinflation. Like every Bolivar he prints blows back right in his face. So he's really kind of in a pickle. And he gets this great idea that he's going to try to get his hands on some Bitcoin, right? And so the first thing he does is he creates this miner registry where he invites all the Bitcoin miners to register in the country, which of course nobody in their right minds would ever do that. And then he also created the Petro, which you probably remember, this BS, complete fraud scam idea that he's going to trade mirrors for gold. And so most of these things fail spectacularly, but that was never the intention. The intention of these ideas was to parade around, to create an educational circuit in Venezuela that would demonstrate to his cronies and death squads what a Bitcoin miner looked like, what it sounded like, heat footprint, sound footprint, how much it makes per day, basically a playbook on how to find this equipment. And so right after December 2017, we started getting visits from fake utility reps, fake municipal reps. And then January 2018 was when the witch hunt began, and they started coming into miner facilities with long guns and extorting miners, expropriating.
They're coming into your facilities with guns?
I can show you the picture of our facility. They busted my brother's door. They came in. They actually have a picture as if it was a drug bust. The two guys with long guns, my 17 A6 or my brother's 17 A6 with the fans, man. The fans we had were like on the right side. They took the fans as if they're like, look at these fans. And so they raided our facility. That now they start extorting my brother. And because he was the only one in the country at the time. And my brother, after a few hours trying to like reason with these people, these guys are telling him, give us $25K and the machines so that we don't throw you in jail. And my brother said, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not going to give you $25,000 and you're going to take my equipment. Like, put me through due process. My brother's a lawyer. And they're like, there is fucking due process, bro. Where do you think you live? Right? Like, and so I was like, $25K in the machines, or we disappear you. We know where you live. We know where your kids go to school. We know where you work. You have until 8 a.m. So my brother at this point is like, holy, like, and at that point is when he decides to bolt it to the border with Colombia and exit the country with his wife, 2 kids, and his Bitcoin, more importantly. Because thankfully, back at that point, he had enough Bitcoin to basically get out, live for a little bit, and then hopefully rebuild his life in the free world. So he made that decision. It was a very, very traumatic drive. I could spend a whole hour talking about that experience. But the point is, he got out. And by that point, I was already sold on Bitcoin. But seeing him be able to leave a country with his Bitcoin, with his wife,
all his wealth,
under surveillance, under prosecution, and come through the other side, that was I know that moment in that room when I traded those dollars for bolívares in Banesco. That was moment number one. The second one was when my brother calls me from the other side, because he called me before he crossed the border. He was nervous. He was crying. I was crying. And I was like, bro, you're there. You made it to the border. You're gonna get through. Call me on the other side. We're gonna celebrate. And I think it was the longest 20 to 30 minutes of my life when he was.
So they're checking his documents. Thank God they didn't have him in the system or anything, or he would have got
correct. So, jail. And my dad bought him time because the guys were calling. My brother drove overnight, and the guys were expecting the money the next morning. And the guys were the thugs or the death squad was calling my dad saying, we know you're going to make a run for it. We know you're going to make a run for it. We're going to radio out. We're going to put out a warrant so you can't leave. And my dad smartly was telling the guys, no. We're just getting the money. Like, it's a lot of money. Give us some time. We're getting it ready. Like, don't do it. Blah, 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 blah. Eventually we bought him enough time. He went through. And so that was sort of my initial journey into Bitcoin. This is 2018, as I mentioned. This is actually this happened right before, I would say. This is happening right like the year after is when LEDN came to be. That year, later that year is when we founded LEDN, and the reason for that was through two reasons. One of the primary ones is I had done very well in Venezuela shorting the Bolivar using the dollar. Okay.
Seems like a no-brainer, right?
And I was fascinated with this idea of shorting weak currency and buying hard assets. I was always like fascinated by this idea because my dad used credit in a hyperinflationary environment. If you use credit properly, you can do very, very well.
Right.
Whereas if you follow the rules that textbooks tell you, oh, put a little bit away of fiat away for a rainy day, have it at a bank earning 2%. That is a recipe for disaster. So I was always very happy. Like, I was always very looking to these ideas of, can I borrow against my hard assets? Can I borrow weak currency against my hard assets? And we tried getting a loan in Venezuela for our mines because we have Bitcoin income, but we have fiat expenses. And we hated selling our Bitcoin, but there was no other option. So I started a mine in Canada with Adam, my best friend from university, who is the co-founder of LEDN. And we had the same issue in Canada where we had Bitcoin revenues, but we didn't want to sell it to pay our fiat expenses. So we went asked a few groups and banks and people if they would give us a loan. And they laughed us out of the room. They called us lunatics. They said that Bitcoin's not an asset. Who would ever do that? And then we did Canada's first Bitcoin-backed loan in 2018. And one of the first markets we went to right after we got the model right was Venezuela, because we knew people there needed the product. And so we started doing really well in certain parts of Latin America, Canada. Then we started getting traction in the US. And it had other challenges those days because we were under the shadows of these dodgy giants these frauds like these BlockFis and Genesis and Celsius, and so in America, people were always paying attention to those guys. But then when they imploded due to their own, bad actions and incompetence, LEDN was really the only one that never had failed anybody. And then so we've sort of taken the place of the de facto Bitcoin-backed lender. And
right. Well, a lot of those firms were rehypothecating their Bitcoin, right? They were
correct.
And so that's
correct.
And so if you guys are familiar with it, and so if you guys are familiar with LEDN, you can go to LEDN.io. You can open up an account. I have an account there. I believe California is still kind of maybe not available, or it's recently been available.
Oh, stay tuned.
Okay.
Not yet, but stay tuned.
Okay.
We have some really exciting news coming on that front. So, yeah.
And so, let's just do a quick plug for LEDN. You guys had a November loan book of, almost, $900 million, average LTV at 55%. And you guys actually provide proof of reserves, which we all know is the ultimate trump card, is being able to prove the reserves you have on the books. Otherwise, there's a bank run, there's a Bitcoin run, and that's how people get wrecked. So tell us the environment in Venezuela after from like 2017 to 2025. Was it easier for Venezuelans to get access to Bitcoin, or did Maduro make it harder in the
yeah, so they had a sort of love-hate relationship with crypto for a while, because after the Petro, so alongside the Petro and this idea to create a minor registry and all this stuff, they spun up a crypto regulator called SUNACRIP. So SUNACRIP was like a regulator that the regime stood up with the mission of fostering adoption of the Petro. Mostly, they wanted the Petro to kind of be this great thing in Venezuela, which failed spectacularly. And they started trying to regulate exchanges and banks. And so, of course, again, it's a love-hate relationship, because they tell you on the one hand they love Bitcoin and crypto, on the other hand they don't love you selling your bolívares, right? So there was always this like cat and mouse situation where they're saying, yeah, no, we can give you a license to operate this exchange, but the exchange will offer you limits and exchange rates that nobody wanted, because they were the government ones. And so you had to continue going to the P2P markets, which they didn't really love because they couldn't tax or couldn't really control. And so they were, again, like, one day they were happy, the next day they hated Bitcoin and crypto. What is certain is that the SUNACRIP, the guys that operated the crypto regulation, embezzled over $20 billion through fraudulent sales to the state oil-owned company. And so I would argue that it became easier thanks to things like local Bitcoins and Binance peer-to-peer, and a few other exchanges. Actually, local Bitcoins was shut down, for those who remember. And so that's kind of what pushed a lot of the flow to Binance. There have been local companies that try to sort of fill the void, like El Dorado, but they went after them too.
So Maduro didn't like flat out ban it. He didn't ban it or come after it, people that had it. He just kind of tried to regulate it more, in a sense.
He tried to regulate it more, and like everything in Venezuela, if they like you, you're cool. You can do whatever you want. Literally, there's no law that applies to you. You can buy whatever, sell whatever, shoot whoever, like do whatever, right? Like impunity rate in Venezuelan crime is somewhere around 99%, just so you know. Like in Venezuela, statistically, you can actually get out of your car, point blank shoot at a different car, kill 5 people, get on the car, keep going, and you have a 99 chance of walking away.
Unbelievable.
Like that's how bad it is. And so, again, if you know the right people, if you don't know the right people, literally you drove over a general's toe and you vanished.
Flip side of that is Maduro was not friendly capitalistic businesses, right? You could not open up a business for profit, right?
No, that's what you could, but you weren't going to do very well, because the labor laws didn't let you, the regulation, the hoops they made you jump through from a regulatory perspective didn't make sense for you. The price controls didn't make sense. And so to give you some sense of the decimation of, or annihilation of the Venezuelan private business apparatus, when Chavez took office, there was 14,000 private businesses in Venezuela. 10 years later, there were 4,000. And 600 of those 4,000 were state-owned. I watched this guy expropriate buildings and companies on people cheer. This guy revoked Ford or 2 TV stations. It was a war against private capital, and any private business that you saw that was thriving was friends with the government.
So what do you say to there's some people out there that say maybe Maduro is a good guy and that the sanctions, I'm just putting it out there that maybe the sanctions forced him to do the things he had to do for the good of the people, right? And there's some crazy people out there saying things like that. As a Venezuelan who has been there, like, what would you say to people that say that stuff?
I'm going to try to be polite. If you think, first of all, the sanctions on Venezuela were not on Venezuela. They were on specific people and entities. McDonald's still in Venezuela. Coca-Cola still in Venezuela. Chevron still in Venezuela. What sanctions, guys? Seriously, what sanctions?
Right.
Like, they continued selling oil to Venezuela, to the U.S. throughout. What are their sanctions? They can't go to Disney? Maduro can't go to Disney? You're mad about that? Seriously, Diosdado Cabello, his daughter can't go to Disney? You're pissed? It doesn't impact anyone.
Yeah, I mean, look, Maduro had death squads. I mean, you can probably rattle off the number of things that he had to oppress everyone. I mean,
no, 100%. Like, this is a criminal that's been ruling a country with impunity for 13 years, right? These sanctions that the U.S. had were this sort of polite way of trying to nudge. But Venezuela laughs in the face of U.S. sanctions.
Yeah.
Like, they were swapping oil mid-ocean with Russia and India and whatever it was so that they could evade the sanctions.
Yeah. And they were doing that without using dollars, I would imagine.
Well, a lot of this stuff was, I think a lot of this stuff was actually still, in many cases, priced in dollars, sometimes priced in crypto, because Sucre did execute a lot of sales in crypto of U.S. oil. The challenge is that, not the challenge, the interesting point is that those dollars or that crypto was embezzled to the pockets of private cronies and never made it back to the state or to the chat. This is why I believe there's no chance Venezuela holds any secret Bitcoin stash. Like, there's just absolutely zero.
You
chance.
think they sold it all and would use it for whatever they had to use it for?
No, it was siphoned to the pockets of corrupt officials.
Gotcha.
It was never back. It was never given back to the state.
Gotcha.
It was stolen from. And if you want to just walk through some numbers, like Sunacrip alone stole 17.6 billion. Tarek El Aissami stole another 25.5 billion. And there's a budget gap, and I can't remember the year, but there's a $15 billion budget gap. I would estimate over $1 trillion were just vanished into private pockets throughout the 26 years.
Wow. And for those of you that don't know, like, I guess the inflation rate in Venezuela alone for the last year was almost 500%. And since February of 2019, it was been almost 345,000%. 345,000% inflation. Like, that is a theft on a scale unheard of in any other part of the globe. And to think that Maduro was a good guy in this sense is completely, it's kind of shocking that some people actually think that. But, here we are, a couple days after Maduro was captured, and he was doing some weird things. Like, he was doing the Trump dance. And were those normal things for him to do over the years, act kind of weird, out of character?
Yes. They would always try to ridicule like the U.S. leadership, or the sort of what they perceive to be as their non-allies, right? And so Chavez famously went at the UN after George W. Bush and said, "It smells like sulfur." Remember? Standing ovation. Remember?
Yeah.
Right. So these guys are always poking the bear. The bear never did anything until the bear got tired.
And so this like capturing of Maduro and his wife, I mean, you know, from the surface, it looks like, I don't know, it looks like almost Maduro made a deal and said, hey, like either Trump said, hey, we're going to kill you, or you can kind of turn yourself in and we can kind of work through the process. I mean, the operation to me seemed to go a little too smooth, right? Like, you know, in middle of the night, they, you know, it seemed like a movie, like from like James Bond or something, right? I mean, nobody really died. I didn't really hear about anybody dying. I don't know. What is your perception on the whole thing?
Yeah. So a few sort of, I'll lay out. First of all, I'll tell you, I don't have like a definitive. I'll just walk you through what I believe and the reasons I believe them. Right. So I've always believed, and many Venezuelans have held this view, that the Venezuelan army is just a
proxy,
a courageless group of just opportunistic individuals trying to suck the blood of the Venezuelan economy through corruption. Okay, so suck the teat of the Venezuelan oil corruption economy. Many of us speculated that all America had to do was literally throw a firecracker into Venezuela to have the thing implode. Okay, they would run like the cowards they are, right? And so I'm actually not, there's many speculations circling. Number one is that they were just completely overwhelmed by the US technology and just a show of force. The second allegation is that even the head of the army themselves didn't dare to call for shooting at the Americans because he knew the lower ranks would disobey his orders. And he would basically, it would be clear that he has no power and he has no alliances. So that's another one, which is, I think, very probably correct, like directionally correct, because you're a guy with a machete, okay? And you're being asked to like swing at a tomahawk. Like, what?
Yeah.
Are you going to swing at the tomahawk? Are you going to be like, no, get the hell out of here. I'm not going to do that. And so now, in terms of impact and deaths, here's a fact that's embarrassing for Venezuela. Maduro's security detail was all Cuban. Maduro didn't trust Venezuelans enough to have them as his own security detail. Out of the people killed, 32 were the Cuban elite forces. Didn't act to elite. So 32 were American, for Cuban. There are reports that are about 80 Venezuelan casualties. There was a show last night, Diosdado Cabello was trying to make the case that, you know, there was like an innocent granny or something, and her car got hit. Obviously, they're trying to find these cases. I would argue it's almost impossible to execute an operation of that scale and magnitude without some collateral damage.
Something, right? Yeah.
Right. And so that said, you know, and of course I feel sad for the innocent lives lost. But it was done with surgical precision, right? We could speculate about whether he cut a deal or not. Is he going to get out or not? But I think what's true, what I can tell you that I'm seeing from spokespeople from the government and actions on the ground, is that the sense I get and everything I see shows me that the U.S. is now calling the shots.
Yeah.
And all they're doing now, posturing. There was a flight this morning coming from Cubana de Aviación, Cuban, the Cuban national airline that Venezuela, you know, basically made Venezuela like theirs. And for the first time in I don't know how many years, it's speculated, but this Cuban flight had to circle, and it was sent back. It was not allowed to land. It was not given permission to land in Venezuela. And so the oil tankers, the government spokespeople coming out last night trying to pre-apologize for selling oil to America.
Influential person. I didn't get a chance to meet him because I searched their phones and stuff. This is crazy.
This is true. I hear the same. My friends are telling me the same. But it was done with surgical precision, right? We could speculate about whether he cut a deal or not. Is he going to get out or not? But I think what's true, what I can tell you that I'm seeing from spokespeople from the government and actions on the ground, is that the sense I get and everything I see shows me that the US is now calling the shots.
Yeah.
And all they're doing down there is posturing. There was a flight this morning coming from Cubana de Aviación, the Cuban national airline that Venezuela, basically made Venezuela like theirs. And for the first time in I don't know how many years, it's speculated, but this Cuban flight had to circle, and it was sent back. It was not allowed to land. It was not given permission to land in Venezuela. And so the oil tankers, the government spokespeople coming out last night trying to pre-apologize for selling oil to America after they said they wouldn't sell a drop of oil. And America literally captured the president. And you're going out and selling them oil and you think it's cool. Like, America's really trying to make them ridicule themselves. And it's working.
But it's true that, I mean, Maduro's people are kind of still basically in charge. And I actually know somebody that is in Venezuela as well. But he's telling me that, a lot of people are deleting Telegram and all the applications from their phones because people are coming door to door to actually search their phones and stuff. This is crazy.
This is true. I hear the same. My friends are telling me the same. These reports are true. It's scary. But the thing is, Venezuelans by now, we're very good at it. Like, we know,
you know how to hide your stuff.
We know we know what's up, right? Like, we don't, in Venezuela, we call it no dar papaya. Dar papaya means you make it easy. Like, just don't make it easy for the guys, right? And so Venezuelans now know, and now they're really desperate because they're desperately trying. Like, they see the night coming down, like sun is setting. They're seeing the sun set on their regime, and they're trying to do what they can to show that they're still calling the shots. Like, you still have to listen to me. But very quickly, it's starting to become clear that, like, yeah, you might have the thug over here, but like, the biggest thug is Donald. Like, and sooner and over time, Venezuelans are going to say, you're not being very nice. Does Donald know about this? Should we tell Don?
Should we tell Dad?
and so slowly that is going to start to happen. There was an event last night that was so last night, for those who follow Venezuela closely, there's Maduro's number 2, probably the worst people on earth, this guy called Diosdado Cabello. And this guy is famous for coming out he runs the death squads. He's the muscle. He's basically the arms and the muscle and the thug. And he has this show. And you know how, like, Bam Bam, Bam Bam, the guy that has like this stick with like spikes coming out of it. Okay, so he has this show. He thinks of himself as Bam Bam, and he has this show called, like, I'm gonna hit you with this thing, right? And he puts the thing right on the desk. And so this show really is just him being like, oh, look at this loser. Like, this loser writes about no Chavismo, like, literally trying to ridicule people on screen, threatening people on screen with a big smile and a grin. And yesterday, he did a show. The first one after what happened. He was somber, he was quiet, but what was most revealing was there was a point in the show where he said, today, we're not going to really do the reading out of the letters, and ridiculing the people. But even though the letters are great, he goes, I have a lot of my cooperative patriots that got these letters to me. And the camera starts panning out so as to show these cooperating patriots. And he very quickly goes, no, don't focus them. Like, nervously, he's like, no,
Wow.
Don't show them. This is the first time I've ever seen that guy so scared in 26 years.
Interesting.
And that made it very clear to me that they're scared. They might not say it, but they're scared.
So I, from the people you talk to and your connections, it seems like people are very much embracing this operation and what happened. I was actually, funny enough, I was in Brazil at the time when it happened, and people were driving down the street with Venezuelan flags, and the Ferris wheel lit up. And I would imagine the sentiment in Venezuela is very positive of this for the most part.
It is very positive, but they cannot celebrate because they run the risk of getting disappeared, right? Because the death squads are still around. So it's not the day Venezuelans go out and celebrate, and you see cheering on the streets. That'll be the day that I can tell you Garrett, we're free. We did it. Right now, there's still room to go, a lot of room to go, a lot of unknowns. But there's hope for change, which we never had in 26 years. So naturally, there's optimism. And and I would argue that you unfortunately, I've seen some of these, anti-intervention protests that seem to be popping up. And as a Venezuelan, it makes me really sad because these people are just so out of touch with actual Venezuelans. Right? I've seen many videos of Venezuelans going to the events asking to speak to a Venezuelan, only to find there are no Venezuelans in those groups.
Right.
Because we're all freaking happy.
Yeah, I've noticed that, right? Like, the perspective that people get is from people that aren't from Venezuela, have no idea what it's like, and have never been there. So we appreciate you giving us this firsthand experience, because I think it actually opens up the American, purview to actually what's going on there and how bad the situation is. And, at the end of the day, Bitcoin can help make Venezuela great again, right? Because, I don't know what the taxation laws are like in Venezuela or how that works, but we're firm believers in that all taxation is theft, and that individuals like your brother, who simply decided to move to a country that would treat him more fairly, was an act of soft war, right? He was actively going to war by refusing to comply and essentially taking his energy to somewhere else. Now, I don't know if you've read the Jason Laurie thesis of soft war, if you're familiar with that at all.
I'm familiar. I haven't read the book.
Okay. Highly recommend. But in essence, that's literally what your brother did. And that's what a lot of us are actually advocating for is, you probably see all the noise that's happening in the U.S. with Minnesota and the Somalis and, all this stuff. People are fighting constantly, trying to kill each other over these silly things that, we keep funding directly by complying with illegal taxation, right? I mean, if they can print the money, they don't need to tax us. At the end of the day, taxation is just a form of control. And that people can settle their differences peacefully by just opting out, right? So what is the taxation like in Venezuela? Is it mandatory? Can people opt out of it? Have people began to, hide their energy, I would imagine, in that way?
So, great question. I would say, I think of taxes as a, are you familiar with the Laffer curve? Like So basically, there's a point of optimal taxes, and there's a point beyond which people just the incentive is for you to not comply, right? So most countries run the arch like this, right? Like it starts over here, and then they get bloated, and then eventually it hits a tipping point where people are like, "F it, I'm better off just taking a risk and doing what I can to get by," and then it starts coming over here. I would say Venezuela is at the very end of that Laffer curve. Like nobody respects or wants to feed the regime, especially no people who are in a position to pay taxes, because most people in Venezuela are actually on the other side of that, where they are in taking tax money as opposed to contributing the tax money. So most of the productive class the productive class is gone, but even the regime apologists and the impresarios that work with the regime are way over here on the Laffer curve. Like they will be making up invoices at the end of the quarter to make sure they're booking zero profits. It is blatant. Just blatant.
I mean, and inflation is just another form of taxation at the end of the day as well. And so,
correct. And so there's all these. So for example, I'll give you an extreme in Venezuela. In Venezuela, the things have gotten so bad that when you go sell or buy a property, you'll do a side deal with the buyer or the seller, and you'll say, "Hey, let's book it here on the registry at $100, and you send me 20 grand to my Wells Fargo account."
Right.
And that'll be the deal. But I don't want to register this for more than X because I don't want to have that problem. And this is like a normal thing. It's like expected, right?
But so also back to your example of, you were in the protests, you had bullets flying by you, like you're not going to beat these people with weapons. And even if that, a bunch of people are going to die, and who knows who's going to take power at the end of the day. But if people refuse to comply with that system, their energy just dissipates over time, or they actually have to start treating you guys better. Otherwise, everyone's gonna, take their energy and go somewhere else.
Well, that is a true argument, yet it implies that the people will go away entirely. So here's one of the nefarious things that happens, right? That Venezuela has no oil production. It's embarrassingly low. We have no taxation revenue because nobody pays taxes, right? So what is the only way to finance the regime? Printing.
Yeah.
Printing. And they have continued to print even after 9 million of us have left and taken out all of our energy. They're still finding ways of just squeezing a little bit more juice out of the energy that's left, out of the vulnerable that can't afford to leave.
And what happens is the amount of energy they're printing gets less and less effective over time, and I think we're going to see that in the US, quite frankly. We see what Trump has just done to increase the military budget, which we know he actually isn't getting more weapons. Like he's getting actually less with more money. And so I think it's happening worldwide. But anyways, this has been a super interesting take. I appreciate your time. I know we've kind of gone over a little bit, but there's just so much to be said. And so if you guys are not following Mauricio, the Cryptonomista, is that how you say it? Cryptonomista.
Yes,
you did it. Say it
yeah,
like the cryptonomist, right? Like an economist.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. Cryptonomista. I love that. Go follow him on X. Go check out LEDN. Go open an account. He's also part of Vibe Capital Management, which I think is just kind of like a vibe thing, right? Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's like Steve and a bunch of my friends. Yeah.
But we also have something special for you because every time we do what's called a rare Pepe. Have you heard of these things called rare Pepes before?
I'm a big fan of Pepe.
You are a big fan of Pepe. Okay. And so funny enough, right? I pulled a couple for you because there's some very special ones. We do have rare Chavez, who says, being rich is bad, it's inhumane. So I say and condemn the rich, we will live and shall overcome. Tenemos patria.
Tenemos patria. Qué bueno es.
Tenemos patria.
That's awesome. Whoever did that is Venezuelan. Whoever did that is Venezuelan.
And so this one, there's only 200 of these. These are, again, Bitcoin NFTs. This was a Series 2 card 19. These go for about $600. A very cool card. But we also have another very special one called Pepe Petro. Okay. And so, so do you have rare Pepes? Are you familiar with rare Pepes in Venezuela?
I don't have one, but I'm familiar with them.
You don't have any. Okay. So it's a Bitcoin NFT that runs on layer 2. So it's all done on op return. And funny enough, there was a very famous rare Pepe artist, but also developer by the name of John Villar. Have you familiar with John Villar?
A name sounds very familiar, but I can't put a face to a name right now.
Okay, so he actually passed away a few years ago, unfortunately. But he created this one called Pepe Petro, which was Series 33, card 13. There's 500 of these. And so he was very involved in these second order NFTs that were produced on Bitcoin. So it's a Bitcoin, it's not a shitcoin. It's actually a second layer protocol to extend it. But many Venezuelans, funny enough, actually made these cards to provide a living for themselves.
Right.
This happened back in 2016 to 2018. So it's a really interesting, ecosystem because, quite a few Venezuelans were actually part of it that helped develop this ecosystem. So RIP John Villar, he was a very cool, influential person. I didn't get a chance to meet him because I unfortunately found rare Pepes a lot later than him. But there's one funny card that was actually made by a Venezuelan by the name of Gabe. And so I'm not sure if you've heard of this card, but this is called The Games of Trump. And so I'm not sure how far down the rabbit hole you are in conspiracies with QAnon and any of that stuff. Have you heard of any of that stuff?
I've heard of it. Yeah. I'm not intimately familiar, but I've heard, I've always tangentially kept paying. I'm a Bitcoiner. So
gotcha. So we kind of believe that there is a connection between QAnon, Trump, Pepe the Frog, and Bitcoin. And that, it's funny, but you've got this card here with Trump on a dragon that was basically 1717, which was the Q. And this was produced, of course, almost 2 months before Q ever dropped any information. So it's just kind of one of those weird kind of coincidences that you're like, hey, wait a minute, what's actually happening here? So I'll send you some stuff to read if you want and have time and want to go down a rabbit hole that might be fun for you. But anyways, this was an awesome interview. And I appreciate you, Mauricio. You're a patriot. We appreciate what you're doing for Venezuela. Go open up a LEDN account. We look forward to having you guys in California here eventually.
You will be.
So,
I'll come back on the show when we're there to celebrate. I'll tell you. I'll let you know. You'll be among the first to know.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Yeah. Anything else you want to pitch right now? Will you be at Bitcoin Vegas or any other upcoming events?
Be at Bitcoin Vegas. I'll be at Plan B later this month. If anyone's going to go to Plan B, the conference in Salvador, I'll be in Bitcoin country. I'll be in Vegas. There's a few more that I'll be doing, but they escape my mind right now. I think I'll be at BitBlock Boom, Dallas.
Oh, nice. Yeah. BitBlock Boom's also a fun one. Great.
So
awesome.
I'll see you there in person. We'll celebrate in person.
Perfect. I love to hear it, man. Keep doing what you're doing. Go follow the Yo, all right, we're back. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I really did. Mauricio is a very cool guy, and he's got an interesting story. Look, this guy literally, him and his family, his brother took soft war to the level, it was back then, right? Because they were coming after his miners, his Bitcoin with guns, okay, right? Kinetic energy. And they were able to evade that with all of their energy intact, right? Which is a beautiful thing, right? It's a peaceful revolt, right? Had they taken weapons and tried to fight, like that scenario is not viable. It's not going to happen, guys. And so just a very cool story of success. And someone mentioned, what a cool movie that would be. I mean, imagine you as in a country that was ran by tyrants. And you're at the border with your family, and right, that there is people out there that want to take everything from you, and that you're hoping and praying that you get across that border with all your energy. It's a fascinating story, guys. It's unbelievable. We Americans, I think, just have it a little too good sometimes. We're a little in these other countries, and so Bitcoin provides that lifeboat necessary for people to get up and move and take that energy with them. So anyways, fascinating. Hope you guys like that. And let's transition to the clown news of the week. JP Morgan, of course, has bent the knee and has filed for a Bitcoin ETF. Of course, Jamie Dimon, the fool, Epstein's banker, as he has basically, given up. He's on board now. NVIDIA, $5 trillion NVIDIA CEO just said it's now investing in Bitcoin mining companies. They haven't bought any Bitcoin yet, but they're investing in mining companies. Interesting for sure. MSCI, you guys did not hear they were going to exclude their list of companies they invest with, but of course they decided to actually keep it. So the rug pull there came in, pretty timely like usual. World Liberty, Trump's family crypto firm World Liberty Financial applies for a U.S. banking license. Interesting times. Trump has, this is awesome actually, he's taking steps to ban large institutional investors from buying more single-family homes. Amazing, right? Because what are these big corporations doing? They're funneling extra money into single-family homes. They, of course, get better interest rates, and they're able to finagle the system so that young families can't afford to buy a house because they keep bidding the price up, up, and up. And so Trump is actually, rug pulling these institutions, which you gotta love to see. Nayib Bukele trolling, obviously Maduro. I think there's a difference between like a Nayib Bukele and maybe a Maduro. I think it's a little easier to tell which one's a white hat in that predicament, right? Nayib Bukele versus Maduro. Even, what's his face? Argentina, right? Milei. I mean, it's even easier to tell that Milei was a good guy versus what we have going on in Venezuela. So hope this was eye-opening for you guys and to experience someone that actually lived there to tell the story from that perspective. Elon Musk's Starlink activates free internet in Venezuela until February 3rd. Now, I know the receivers are expensive over there. I think they're like $500 to $700, but, and I think they're mostly in cars, weirdly enough. So we'll see, hopefully that extends it so people can start, getting the message across and putting the pressure on the people that are in charge or supposedly in charge or whoever is reporting to Trump at the end of the day. Elon Musk, sorry for comparing poor Maduro to the donkey. It's an insult to the animal world. That's just an older tweet from Elon Musk. So what else do we have? We had, let's see, what do we have else in here? We did have,
the pyramid doesn't work. We've already tried it.
It's upside down.
What?
Sir, the pyramid is upside down.
Turn the pyramid upside down. You can't be serious. That would put butter and fat at the top of the damn food pyramid! Get the president on the phone. Tell him to have some steak with his butter.
I had some steak with my butter today, and it was absolutely amazing. What else do we have? Yeah, let's get on to the strange signal. There's some strange signal this week, of course. Yeah, so on January 3rd of this year, Bitcoin was officially 17 years old. On the same year, we celebrate the 250th anniversary of 1776. This was always the plan. Couldn't be more 5x5 signal. Q-Tims and Macedonians ever going to figure out the obvious? As the world turns. So Pip actually posted that. Hope Pip is doing well. Happy New Year, Pip. And absolutely on point. Pip gets it. We had an interesting tweet from the U.S. Department of Labor. Trust the plan. Trust Trump. Trust but verify, my friends. Don't just give blind trust. Blind trust is what got us into this predicament in the first place. We had a Musk soft war tweet talking about the roots of war and talking about the use of coercion by one nation against the other, right? And how, people always basically, support the idea of those types of, against one nation against each other, but not by the government of a nation against its own citizens, right? The use of force of a government against its own citizens is, of course, where we get digital 1776. And of course, we are being exploited. We are being, attacked on the daily through the financial system, right? Not through kinetic means. But, we'll see what happens. Dan with the 111 on 131.25 for Donald Trump Jr.'s birthday. And so, yeah, that's interesting that their birthdays are so close together and that there was a Covfefe hit in there as well. Anyway, it's just kind of fun. And again, we have Elon Musk talking about proof of work. Requiring at least very basic proof of work will make a tremendous improvement in stopping insane levels of fraud. Elon proof of work again. The straightforward proof of work requirement, which is trivial for any legitimate organization to provide, is basic common sense and will have a very positive effect on proof of work. Has anybody ever heard of proof of work before? It's kind of amazing that people are still missing the signal there. Here's Elon talking about energy as a currency.
So if you try to get to a millionth of the sun's energy or a thousandth of the sun's energy, like now these are very, very difficult tasks.
And energy is the inner loop for everything right now.
Yeah, I think the future currency will essentially just be wattage.
I wonder what currency could be measured in wattage. Does anybody know? Anyways, we have Elon with, again, Kardashev, level 1, level 2, level 3. Being able to harness a millionth of the sun's energy would be 10,000 times more energy than all of human civilization uses today. That's a lot of power. Of course, under the Jamie Dimon admitting he was wrong about Bitcoin and crypto, we had Jason Laurie come in with a nice tweet about bending the knee. Of course, that's a reference to the Game of Thrones, Games of Trump, however you want to call it. Department of Labor with another banger. Patriotism will prevail with the Betsy Ross 1776 flag. I think Lindsay pointed that out. Thank you, Lindsay. We had Flynn, right, talking about the awakening public. And here he says, the frog can only stand the boiling water for so long. Wake up time, perhaps. We did have a Covfefe withdrawal from the UN. 35 non-UN organizations, 31 UN entities. Some might call that a Covfefe hit. We also had Jason Laurie come in with a friendly reminder that real power is greater than abstract power. Of course, doing it on January 3rd, which of course is the day Trump nagged Maduro, but also funny enough is the date, of course, of the Genesis block, the 17th anniversary of the Genesis block. And so some might say that's a coincidence. Some might say something else. I don't know. We also had this idiot at the Minnesota protest talking about where we go on. This is hilarious. Watch this guy.
The storm is here. When we come, one, we go all. No one can stop what is coming. Get here, guys. We need you in Minnesota. These people are fucking terrorists.
When we come, one week. Is that some kind of weird circle jerk there, buddy? What's going on there with the storm is coming and all this? Nothing can stop what are you even talking about, bro? Do you have any Bitcoin? Or are you just some moron with the megaphone trying to get shot? And by the way, don't do what this guy's doing. I love all of you guys. You guys are the most important people in this mission, right? It may not seem like that, but you are. So please don't go out there and risk your own life for doing something stupid, for getting entangled with some leftist protesters. Let the idiots kill each other. Okay, that's DNA cleansing. Let them get shot at by the ICE officers, right? Who gives a fuck? Don't go out there and try to do the counter protest. Start stacking sats and watch it from your television and laugh at them. Who the hell wants to go out in this weather anyway? Imagine living in Minnesota. Imagine living in Minnesota and then imagine protesting in Minnesota in this weather. Talk about retarded. That's like retard on retard. Okay, so just like leave it to the idiots and protect your energy, protect your mental well-being, and don't fall for it. Trump's trying to egg you on too, by the way, right? There's some couple Trumpies out there that want to get in the mix and want to fight and want to get all riled up. Don't fall for it, man. Trump's trying to rile you up too. Chill it out. Keep it easy, right? Stack sats, stay calm, stay humble. GMoney's got your back, okay? What else we got? We got, of course, we got the rug pulls of the week, right? Rug pulls of the week is always a good thing. Now, by the way, Trump doesn't give a fuck. This is hilarious to watch, right? Trump says the Venezuela War Powers Resolution vote, which is a vote by Congress to basically reduce Trump's powers, greatly hampers American self-defense and national security, impeding the president's authority as commander-in-chief, and that the War Powers Act is unconstitutional. In other words, Trump doesn't give a fuck about what Congress voted on. It's almost like in the 250th year of 1776, Trump went in and plugged in the game genie to just fucking overrule whatever Congress. Congress is essentially like worthless at this point. They have no power. They have no authority. They have no rank. And there's nothing they can do. They can vote all day. But at the end of the day, the military reports to the president, and that's all that matters. And so it's kind of funny watching this stuff, actually. President Trump declared on Wednesday evening that his power as commander-in-chief is constrained only by his own morality, brushing aside international law and other checks on his ability to use military might to strike, invade, or coerce nations around the world. Asked in a wide-ranging interview with the New York Times if there were any limits on his powers, Mr. Trump said, yeah, there's one thing, my own morality, my own mind. It's the only thing that can stop me. I don't need international law, he added. I'm not looking to hurt people. Oh, that is beautifully said. By the way, talk about power projection. Talk about the abstract international law, right? Protection. That doesn't mean shit. It's actually kind of funny to see, because I almost think Trump is actually egging. He's like saying, hey, guys, all rules are off the table. This is strictly a power game now. Let's see who wins, right? It seems like the gloves are off, and it's quite fun to watch. And of course, Lori comes in. Abstract power versus real power, as Trump posts the picture of Maduro on board the USS Iwo Jima. But we also had the EO rug. So the SDNY, of course, the Southern District of New York, sold the Bitcoin that the Samurai devs paid as part of their plea deal. And so it sounds like Trump's executive order doesn't trump the private key. So a little bit of power projection going on back and forth through cyberspace as well. Then, of course, we had this defense budget where he's increasing it by another 50%. Instead of 1 trillion, it's going to be 1.5 trillion. But funny enough, at the bottom here, it talks about a substantial dividend to the Patriots. I don't know what that means exactly, but guys, look, Trump isn't actually getting more military weapons. Realizing that the money printer is becoming less effective. Okay, he has to increase the budget because he's getting less with more money, right? He's paying a lot more to sustain it. And so this is the slope of where things could get hyperinflaty pretty quickly, as we see a 50% increase is quite a big jump to that budget. What else do we have? Well, we did have a Pokemon robbery, which is pretty funny.
Last night, the new details we got saying that employees saw 2 people come inside the store. They were acting suspiciously and then left. Later, around closing time, police say an employee took a briefcase full of extremely valuable cards down into the underground parking garage, where they were confronted by a man with a gun. That person took the briefcase, got in a car. Somebody who was a friend of the victim, according to police, tried to bust in through the back windshield of that car and ultimately got pepper sprayed. And the suspect took off with, again, $300,000 to $500,000 worth of rare cards. No arrests announced in this situation so far. And it was not the only theft of very rare cards that happened just yesterday in Southern California. Take a look at this video. This is from Simi Sports Cards in Simi Valley around 3 a.m. yesterday. The owner telling us thieves broke in his shop with a chainsaw and smashed up display cases, making off with at least $50,000 in valuable Pokemon and sports cards there.
So they were stealing little pieces of papers with pictures drawn on them, huh? Interesting. Well, you can't do that with cryptographic NFTs. Can't just smash and grab those, can you? We had Elon talk about the tax.
It's pretty wild that a tiny tax on tea started the revolution. And now we get the living daylights tax out of us, and there's no revolution. You get taxed on what you own, you get taxed on what you buy, and you get taxed on what you own. Taxes, taxes, taxes. And then what does it get spent on? A bunch of the stuff you don't even agree with. That's why we need to reduce the size of government and just spend less money and let the people keep a lot more of their hard-earned money.
Makes sense to me. Congress is so broken that you can't fix it. I would agree with that.
At some point, people will look at this body and say, maybe we should get rid of all 435 members of the House and all 100 members of the Senate and start over, because Congress is literally failing the American people.
Start over? Not with people. We can replace all those people with AI and with smart contracts and with Bitcoin. We don't need any of those parasites. We don't need any form of government to where we can hand over our power and authority to other people to make decisions for us. We can become self-sovereign now. And so starting over involves basically scrapping the old way of doing things. And yeah, so here's some other, I think that's kind of it. Oh, we had I guess JD Vance doesn't want to play. All right.
You guys have designated
that,
the cartels as terrorist organizations.
Because they are, yeah.
How do you win the war on drugs if Americans love cocaine?
That's the one big pushback I've gotten is when I criticize the Venezuelans for trafficking cocaine. You had a lot of people say, we don't like fentanyl, but some people do like cocaine. Unfortunately, cocaine is a very bad drug. And importantly, Jesse, it is a major profit center for the Venezuelan cartels. So if they sell a little bit of fentanyl, but a lot of cocaine, and they use that cocaine to spread and further their cartel operations, that means a lot more poison is going to be coming into the United States. So for all the people that love cocaine, I am sorry, the President of the United States does not love cocaine. We encourage you to go to rehab, and we're going to keep on pursuing America's interest.
I'm sorry. Okay. This fucking big daddy government, we know what's best for you bullshit. Okay. JD Vance, go fuck yourself. Okay, you little weasel. I don't like that guy very much, by the way. Thinks he knows what's best for us. Make it safe. Make it legal. And guess what? You eliminate the profit centers for Venezuelans. Legalize all of it, my friend. You know, let's just talk like that. It's just antithetical to Bitcoin. We're sovereign. We don't need you telling us what the fuck to do, right? We want to go have fun on a Friday night. So be it. Okay? Get the hell out of our freaking business, man. Seriously. Oh man, these God Kings sometimes. What else did we get? Any other funny stuff here? We had a couple funny ones. Yeah, I think I'll just play, I guess, the closing credits with some other clips that I grabbed. Oh, this was actually, I like this guy. I think it's a girl. It's a guy, girl. I don't know what this is. Pat, I don't know what it is.
I'm not going to buy health insurance anymore. I'm not doing it. If I catch something and I can't afford to pay out of pocket to fix it, I'm just going to let it kill me. It's not worth it to me. It's not worth it. I'm not going to keep extending my time here just to keep feeding the machine. Just so another CEO of Insurance R Us can buy another $200,000 car. We're all going to die eventually. Fuck it. Less money in their pockets, I say.
Boom. So whatever that was, I wholeheartedly agree. It's a scam. It's absolutely a scam meant to rob you. AI will take over that eventually, a lot of those jobs, and we'll help be able to provide healthcare at a lot cheaper cost and give you better healthcare. All right. RFK is removing the fluoride from the water. Hallelujah. They're reducing the vaccine schedule. Hallelujah. Right. All these major things happening. And it seems like a lot of Bitcoiners have their heads in the ground, thinking Trump is some tyrant, you know, and I don't know. I think the plan is actually coming together rather nicely, but it's always trust but verify. Okay. Not blind trust. Blind trust is what got us into this place in the first place. One more thing, Iran, praying for you guys. The mullahs are bad dudes. There's a revolution going on in Iran. I would suggest all of you pray for that country. I heard tonight that they may have used real ammunition against some of the protesters and that some people are dead. So touchy situation there. Hopefully, you know, Trump can come in the helicopters and just take out the Ayatollah, scoop him up, put him on trial. I don't think he's a white hat, right? I think we can say he's probably not a white hat, right? Anyways, guys, look, all of us in Badlands are not going to agree on everything, and that's good. We should not be agreeing on everything, and we should flush out, you know, the best ideas and the best information to make sure that we're on signal. But, you know, you're never going to have me agreeing with a socialist, communist dictator like Maduro. Okay. Flat out. Right. So let's stay based. Let's stay on signal, sovereignty, freedom, right? Hard money. And happy freaking New Year. I guess it's back to work. All right. We will catch you guys next week. Shade away.
Stole that shit. That's what I do, nigga. Fuck, nigga, I stole that shit. And I stole it. Like, bro, but niggas don't understand. I talk facts. Vlad, I talk facts.
Oh, you're right.
I
don't even deny it. That's cool.
I do, nigga, I talk facts. What deny? What, nigga? Give me that, nigga. I don't know what to do with that.
Okay.
You know when a nigga got a girl, her shit fat? Bro, you don't know what to do with that. Give me that.
Hear me out. You work for an entire year. You pay 24% federal tax, 5% state tax. That's 29% tax already. 29% of the year is 106 days. You're literally working 106 days for free before you even make $1 for your family. That's about how many days politicians actually work. Go to work, taxed. Save your money, taxed. 401k, taxed. Pension, taxed. Buy a car, taxed. Drive that car, taxed. Put gas in that car, extra taxed. Buy a home, taxed. Want to sell a home, taxed. You want to eat some food, taxed. Want a little drinky drink, taxed. Want to go fishing, taxed. Want to go shopping, taxed. Invest, taxed. Inherit, taxed. Die, you guessed it, taxed. And for what? To fund illegal migrants, foreign wars, and families scamming the system? Please! It seems we're in the land of the taxed and the home of the freeloaders. I think it might be time to spill some tea or something again.
Tax is a big issue for me. I don't like taxes. I don't understand taxes. Like, what? Like, when I hear people in the Western world pay 40, 50, 60% tax, it's like you work 5, 6 months, 7 months of the year for free, basically. That's what you're telling me. For what? For no safety, average education, below average healthcare. It's like, why even doing that? It's like, we don't pay tax in the UAE or most of this region. Okay, no, but we get the most safest places in the world. We get amazing healthcare, and educating here is superb. Yes, we pay for it, but if you make the math, it's cheaper here than there. Right? Do the math.
Dubai was almost founded on this principle. Like, even go back 100 years, it was like, we're going to be a center of trade, and we're not going to tax you, which was kind of unheard of for port back in the day, as far as the research I've done. And so it's kind of in the blood, in the DNA of everyone here in the region, is that, no, we want people to come here and trade, and we're not going to tax you. And that's the way you get the most.
So you got a billionaire coming over here. This is what he's got to do. He's going to first spend, $20, $30 million on a match. And then that commission goes to a broker. And that broker is going to go buy a car and buy other stuff. And that billionaire is going to go shopping to the malls. He's going to eat expensive restaurants. He's going to buy other cars. He's going to buy jewelry. He's going to go back and invite his family and friends over. So that money is being spent in the country. So it's having a cycle, is over there. So it moves GDP up. So instead of like, no, you cannot, you haven't. Come on. Now we have a lack of luxury apartments in Venice because they're all sold. There's mansions, 60, 100, 200, $300 million being sold like this. Like, who's paying for that? But that's the whole thing. Money is coming in. And that's how you become smart about it.
So you look at the West and you're like, what are they doing?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
If you spent the next 100 hours studying Bitcoin and studying where your money currently resides, you would go to Bitcoin.
Yeah, I get that. I just genuinely don't care enough.
I understand. That's just NPC behavior. And you will deal with the consequences of that inaction.
Are they necessarily consequences, though?
We'll see when they tell you in a couple of years that you got to get vaccinated again, or they'll freeze your bank account.
No, but what I'll do is I'll just buy some with money that I'm prepared to lose, and then just see what happens, and I don't have to know about it.
Yeah, because you're still looking at it as an investment instead of a new form of money. It's a new form of money. Once again, it's like you need to go through that phase of feeling stupid to then become knowledgeable. And there's certain things that are ROI positive to be knowledgeable about. Like, if you're expending life force, time, energy, and attention to generate money, can you hold that invested time, energy, and attention in the year 2050? Can you retain that energy that you've instilled? Because energy can either be created or destroyed. It can only be what? Transformed. Second law of thermodynamics. The entire world is bound by natural law. Fiat isn't, which means it's corrupted, doesn't work, because you're creating something out of thin air. It's against natural law, which means the system will implode. So under that premise, knowing that energy can either be created or destroyed, it can only be transformed, what are you transforming your energy into? You need to transform your energy into something that can't be printed more of. So you take your energy and you store it in Bitcoin. instead of taking your energy and storing it in fiat, because fiat can get printed out of thin air, because it actually requires physical energy to mine a Bitcoin right now.
Are you going to get some Bitcoin?
He's going to get some Bitcoin.
Yeah, no, of course I will. Of course I will.
If you're not in Bitcoin, or if you're in Bitcoin and you're measuring from the piece of paper, you are still in fiat. You are still in the zero-sum game.
Do you think when we get on a Bitcoin standard, that human life evolves differently beyond just our institutions changing? We get more time back. Is there more love in the world? Is more peace?
So I'm going to turn the question around to you and ask you, in your time in Bitcoin, have you seen inside that ecosystem versus outside of it, have you seen more love, more belonging, more community, more of what you would expect to see on an honest chain that it looks like that?
I'm going to answer yes, but maybe that's what I'm looking for. Maybe others are.
Yeah, so for me, that's exactly what I've seen. I've seen it. So I've seen a world that's emerging, exactly what I would expect it to do. And as people go deeper into that, they're never going back. And some of those people have become my closest friends in this. And why I know why this is so resilient is nothing is going to stop these people. They're going to create, and they're being joined by legions and legions of more people, each at different levels of understanding, that as they go deeper, they never go back. And so why I'm so positive about this happening is that's exactly what happens. It's a rise of consciousness in the world because you have your time back, because you're contributing to other people through an honest protocol, because your time isn't an infinite game. And the mirror reflection you're starting to see in this. Now, I realize that depending on where you are in your Bitcoin journey, it might not look like that to you, as you're still fighting the old system, right? As you're still spending all your time yelling at other people who don't get Bitcoin, while you yourself is spending all of your time measuring it in a piece of paper, right? And so that will feel like a fight. You're not, because you haven't kind of got to the bottom yet. But it would have to look like that. It would have to look like that, because it wasn't Bitcoin that was changing. It was us that was changing. Us making a decision which system we wanted to contribute our time to.
You said, if you were to hypothesize how all this would play out, it's kind of playing out very much how you would expect in some way, in most ways.
Exactly as I'd expect.
Thank you so much for joining us, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up on this video. And a special thank you to all of our advertising partners. Please remember to shift your dollars to support those businesses that support Badlands Media.
Delay, my friends.
Because you're living an illusion. I can't wait till it hits you. Recollection, your misconception. Obsessed, you see the green is successful. Material gain causes serious stress. More love, because you're living an illusion. Wake up now, yes, you're living in confusion. You're not a scholar, you're a waste of a teacher. Preach the dollars, you're a waste of a preacher. Love, come on, that's what we need. More love, that's what we need to succeed. Not dollars, not what we need. Let's give them love so the youth can achieve. More love, come on, that's what we need. More love, that's what we need to succeed. Not dollars, not what we need. Let's give them love so the youth can achieve now. Yep, you gotta see clearer. Clear on up, stay up and stay clearer. Go back to basics, look in the mirror. You're in a dream, wake up and now gear up. Come on, love, continually loving, that's realer. Make up your mind and emerge as a leader. Now it connects many, many are feed off. Rise up above, cause the youth stay feed off. Love, come on, that's what we need, more love. That's what we need to succeed, not dollars, not what we need. Let's give them love so the youth can achieve more love. Come on, that's what we need, more love. That's what we need to succeed, not dollars, not what we need. Let's give them love so the youth can achieve now. You gotta see clearer. Yep, you gotta see clearer. More love, come on, that's what we need. More love, that's what we need to succeed. Not dollars, not what we need. Let's give them love so the youth can achieve now.